How to maintain a successful OnlyFans page. So these days, a lot of creators are facing the struggles of having inconsistency in their OnlyFans business, from making 10K a month to 3K to 6K, and the numbers are just all over the place. And I'm going to break down why is that. So the first reason could be simply that you're inconsistent overall, meaning that you're not posting consistently, you're not making consistent content, you're not keeping up with your customs, and overall your marketing is just all over the place. So that's reason number one, inconsistency. So if you're not consistent in what you're currently doing, that got you to those high numbers, and you immediately just decide to, for example, go on a vacation, take a break, etc., you're automatically going to start seeing your page go down over time. It's going to happen regardless. When you're growing, you need to maintain that level, and you need to always push to go further and not just bring it back down. And that's why a lot of creators see the results start trickling down over time. And that's due to the fact that they get comfortable with the position that they're in, and ultimately with flawed sales funnels, flawed marketing, things just start crumbling down over time. So that's why there's a lot of pages that you'll see these type of numbers. However, that can be avoided by simply following a content strategy and a content plan that you can actually maintain for a period of 6 months minimum or longer. So you need to break down what can you do for 6 months plus that's not going to burn you out, so that when it comes to staying consistent, you can keep yourself accountable and always push for higher results every month moving forward, or at least be able to maintain a certain level of stability. Because if you're doing OnlyFans full time, nothing is worse than not knowing how much you're going to make the next month. So being able to control the factors that determine the success of your page every month is super crucial, because you'll know that, okay, I'm making 10K consistently every month as long as I do X, Y, and Z. But if I increase the amount that I'm doing in these certain areas, I know that I'm going to make more. However, I also know that if I do less than this amount, I'm going to make less. And that way, when you have a set structure that you know works, it helps you determine, okay, I've been doing Instagram, Reddit, Twitter consistently every month to make 10K. However, I did everything right this month, but my results are down. Now you can immediately start going back into your marketing to see, okay, what's going on and why did my sales drop this month even though I did all of this right. So this is why having structure in your OnlyFans business is super important, because you can immediately figure out where are the problems and what is causing your page to go downhill the moment you see that your results are lower than usual. And that's where a lot of people struggle to actually understand. They actually don't know why their page is doing bad. And I noticed that from talking to a lot of creators through DM, text, etc. They're telling me their stories, and ultimately it comes down to, why is your page going down? And they're like, I don't know, it's because of this, it's because of maybe that, I'm not too sure, this and that. And there's not a concrete explanation as to why they're having these problems. Reason number two is going to be your content itself. How are you making your content? How often are you making this content? And how does it come out? What are your fans asking for, and what are you giving them? For example, if your fans are looking for solo content and you're providing a bunch of boy-girl content, ultimately you're going to turn off most of your fans that have been asking for that solo content. So that's one thing that affects sales a lot, because if you're not listening to basically the feedback of your subscribers who are following your page, then you're going to miss out on a lot of sales, because ultimately the people who subscribe to your page, they're subscribing for a few particular reasons. Some pages, I must admit, is definitely more broad, but a lot of people are subscribing specifically for a few select reasons, because they have their own kinks or whatever. So if the large majority of your subscribers are subscribing because they want to see your solo content, but you're providing a bunch of sex tapes, etc. every other day, in the DMs, then ultimately they're going to stop responding and stop buying because they're not looking for that type of content. So a lot of creators think that boy girl content does the best. However, so for the most part, I'd argue that solo content actually performs better in the long run because of the fact that you build a connection, there's more intimacy, and fans can feel closer to you. That's why it's super important to listen to the feedback and create your content based on what is mainly suggested and requested on your page, because ultimately the fans are requesting it because they're willing to buy it. So if you're not creating it, as long as it stays within the guidelines, then you're missing out on a lot of potential sales, and long term that's going to affect your LTV. That's ultimately a second reason, which is content not being up to par. And that also segues into the third reason, which is your marketing and how you're doing your marketing. A lot of creators spreading themselves out way too thin when it comes to marketing because they're not seeing success on Instagram, so they go to Twitter. No success on Twitter, so they go to Reddit. They go to Threads, etc. And now they're on all these platforms, which is great. However, they're not successful on any platform, so ultimately the results are the same, which is done, because they're not actually taking the time to build each platform individually to the point where it's actually generating results so that they can then go on to the next platform. You need to first guarantee that you're bringing in traffic from Instagram before you start doing Twitter on the side. And when you do all of this at once, you end up spending a lot of time just circling around these platforms and not actually doing any progress for yourself, because now, especially if you're working alone, you're focusing on all these platforms, but you still have your OF content that you need to make. You still need to respond to messages, and you still need to brainstorm new ideas for your actual social media content. And all of that in 24 hours is not possible. So that's why it's easy to just eventually just burn out, and boom, you crash out 1 month. You go from making 10K to 3K because you just couldn't handle everything on month number 2. So that's a big factor to take into account your marketing. Take a step back to be able to reevaluate what platforms work for you best. And then let's say it's Instagram and YouTube. Make sure that you take your time and make sure you focus on these 2 platforms alone. Because if you're focusing on Threads, Twitter, you're focusing on Reddit, now you're just clouding what was working for you, which was Instagram and YouTube, by doing all these other platforms. And now boom, you're getting less traffic from your 2 main platforms because you were too focused on trying to get a little bit of traffic from these other platforms. So when it comes to your marketing, make sure you focus on the ones that are actually working for you the best. If you're not at the point where you know what marketing works for you the best, determine what level is your content quality, and then from there determine where you should focus your efforts. If you know that you have lower quality content, then I would probably suggest focusing on maybe Reddit or Twitter, which is more underground. However, if you know you have quality content, you have a personality, you can build your personal brand really fast, then Instagram, YouTube is probably the best way to go, because these platforms are going to get you the best results as long as you're making quality content. So with that being said, these are 3 reasons that you can start changing right now, and you'll see immediately your results on OF increase. With that being said, take care, guys.